In the peaceful suburb of Oakridge, life moved at a calm, predictable rhythm. Children rode their bicycles along quiet streets, and neighbors waved from perfectly trimmed lawns. Among the residents, everyone admired Daniel and Emily Harper, the couple who seemed to have it all. Their house stood out, a neat two-story home with white shutters and a blooming rose garden. From the outside, their marriage looked flawless. Daniel was hardworking, kind, and dedicated to his construction business. Emily was charming and creative, known for her eye for design and her graceful smile. To everyone else, they were the picture of success and love. But behind the perfectly painted walls, something darker was beginning to stir. Daniel often left early for work, spending long hours managing projects and meeting clients. He dreamed of expanding his company and securing a better future for them. When his business began to thrive, he decided to renew his life insurance policy, increasing it to $2 million. It was meant to be a safety net, a way to ensure Emily would be taken care of no matter what happened to him. He didn't know that this very decision would become the reason his life would soon spiral into danger. Emily, once devoted and affectionate, had changed. At first it was subtle. She grew quiet, distant, and easily irritated. She claimed she was just stressed, that her design work was overwhelming. Daniel believed her, never suspecting that her heart had already drifted away. She had begun seeing someone else, a man who filled her head with promises of a new life, a life without responsibility or restraint. Every time she looked at Daniel, the warmth she once felt was replaced with cold calculation. She saw not a husband, but an obstacle, and a bank account waiting to be unlocked. As the weeks passed, Emily became increasingly obsessed with the thought of what $2 million could do for her. It wasn't just about freedom anymore. It was about control. She imagined herself starting fresh in another city, living comfortably with the man she truly wanted. But to reach that dream, Daniel had to disappear. The idea horrified her at first. She tried to push it away, convincing herself that she could just leave him. Yet the temptation of that insurance money was too strong. Slowly, her conscience gave way to greed. On the outside, she continued to play the perfect wife. She smiled at neighbors, attended social gatherings, and posted pictures of happy moments online. No one suspected the storm brewing behind her calm expression. Daniel remained trusting, unaware that each of her smiles hid a growing plan for his destruction. He still kissed her goodbye every morning, still brought her flowers on Fridays, never realizing that she had already chosen a deadly path. In the quiet nights of Oakridge, as the streetlights flickered outside their home, Emily sat awake, staring at Daniel's sleeping figure beside her. The man she had once loved now represented a fortune she couldn't resist, and in her mind, the perfect murder had already begun to take shape. Emily's plan began with small, deliberate steps. She knew that acting too quickly could draw suspicion, so she chose patience as her weapon. Every move had to appear natural, every act disguised as care. She spent hours researching online under hidden browsers, learning about poisons that mimicked natural illnesses. The more she read, the bolder she became. One night, after weeks of planning, she finally ordered a substance that could cause slow organ failure without leaving clear traces. She paid in cash and had it shipped to a nearby pickup point, ensuring no connection to her name. At home, she started creating the illusion of a concerned wife. She prepared Daniel's favorite meals again, just like in the early days of their marriage. She brought him coffee in the mornings, made sure his lunch was ready, and greeted him with warm smiles when he returned home from work. To Daniel, it felt like a spark had returned to their marriage. But beneath her charm was a quiet determination to watch him weaken, little by little. The first doses were small, barely enough to cause alarm. Daniel started experiencing headaches and nausea. Emily acted worried, insisting he see a doctor. The test results showed nothing unusual, just signs of stress and exhaustion. Relieved but puzzled, Daniel took a few days off, thinking rest would help. Emily used that time to adjust her plan. She increased the doses slightly, slipping them into his food and drinks whenever she had the chance. His symptoms grew worse: fatigue, dizziness, and chest pains. He began losing weight, his skin turning pale and tired. Every time he coughed or stumbled, Emily hid her satisfaction behind a mask of concern. Friends and neighbors saw her devotion and praised her for being so supportive. She made sure to be seen in public, talking about how worried she was for Daniel's health. She even started collecting fake medical bills and prescriptions to make everything look believable. To everyone else, she was a loving wife standing by her sick husband. But inside, she was counting the days until she would finally be free. What Emily didn't know was that Daniel had started noticing patterns. He realized that he only felt truly sick after eating meals prepared by her. When he ate out during work or skipped dinner, his symptoms seemed to ease. At first, he dismissed it as coincidence. But the doubt kept growing. Late one night, while Emily was asleep, Daniel searched through their kitchen and found an unmarked vial hidden behind cleaning supplies. He didn't touch it, but he took a picture and saved it secretly. Daniel decided not to confront her. Instead, he began pretending to be weaker, more confused, and unaware. He let her think her plan was working. Quietly, he documented everything: what he ate, when he felt sick, even the days she acted overly kind. He confided in no one, not even his closest friends. Deep down, he knew he was running out of time. But if Emily wanted to play a deadly game, he was determined to turn her plan against her. Daniel spent sleepless nights piecing together a plan that could save his life and expose Emily without alerting her. Every detail had to be perfect. He knew that if he confronted her directly, she would only deny it or try again more carefully. So, he began preparing for the most elaborate deception of his life. The first step was to act as if he was getting worse. He let his shoulders slump, move slower, and coughed deliberately. Emily believed her plan was succeeding. She began preparing larger doses, unaware that Daniel was secretly avoiding most of the food she made, discarding it when she wasn't looking. In the following weeks, Daniel visited his lawyer under the guise of updating business documents. In truth, he changed his life insurance policy, removing Emily as the beneficiary and replacing her with a charity foundation his father had once supported. The lawyer raised an eyebrow at the sudden decision, but Daniel offered no explanation. He also transferred most of his personal savings into a private account Emily didn't know existed. Every move was quiet and deliberate, meant to make her believe she still had control while he built his escape. He told Emily he was going on a weekend boating trip with a close friend, something he had done several times before. Emily encouraged it, pretending to care about his health. In her mind, it was perfect timing. If anything were to happen to him out at sea, it would look like an accident. She smiled to herself as he packed his things, already imagining how she would soon be rich and free. But Daniel had already arranged everything with his friend, a trusted partner who owed him his life from years back. The plan was simple: Daniel would disappear. His boat would be found drifting near the edge of the lake, damaged and empty. His wallet, shoes, and jacket would be left behind as evidence of an accident. His friend would report him missing the next morning. Meanwhile, Daniel would travel quietly out of town using a fake ID, staying in a remote cabin until the news spread. The following days unfolded exactly as he hoped. The local news reported the disappearance of Daniel Harper, a respected businessman who went missing during a solo boating trip. Search teams combed the lake but found no body. Emily played her role flawlessly. She cried for the cameras, spoke softly about their loving marriage, and organized a memorial service that drew the entire community. Her act convinced everyone, even the police. To them, she was a grieving widow. To Daniel, she was a predator who had finally taken the bait. Weeks later, Emily filed for the insurance claim, her voice trembling with fake sorrow. She waited anxiously for the payout that would secure her future, but when she received the notice that the beneficiary had been changed, her face went pale. The $2 million she thought was hers had vanished into someone else's hands. Confusion turned to fury, and beneath that rage came a chilling realization. Daniel had known all along. Emily's perfect world began to unravel piece by piece. After learning the insurance payout was redirected, she tried to keep calm, telling herself there must have been a mistake. She called the insurance company over and over, only to hear the same answer. The policy had been changed months before Daniel's disappearance. When she demanded to know who the new beneficiary was, they refused to tell her, citing privacy laws. That single moment shattered her composure. For the first time, she realized Daniel had outsmarted her. The thought burned inside her. She had risked everything, and now she had nothing to show for it. Her secret lover, who had once promised to stay by her side, quickly distanced himself when he learned she wasn't receiving the money. Within weeks, he blocked her number and disappeared. Emily's anger turned into obsession. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and began replaying every moment from the months before Daniel's death. the way he had looked at her, the faint smirk when she offered him food. It all started to make sense now. She began to suspect that Daniel might not be dead after all. At first, the idea seemed absurd, but soon, strange things started happening that made her question reality. Late one night, she heard footsteps in the hallway. She rushed out, heart pounding, but found nothing. Another evening, she discovered the back door slightly open even though she remembered locking it. Then came the photographs, small, faded prints left on her doorstep showing Daniel standing near a lake, the same one where he supposedly drowned. There was no message, only the chilling reminder that someone was watching her. Her paranoia grew worse by the day. She started keeping the lights on all night and checking the locks 3 times before bed. The sound of the wind against the window made her jump. Sometimes she swore she heard Daniel's voice whispering her name, faint but unmistakable. She tried to convince herself it was stress, but the fear burrowed deep into her mind. She began seeing him everywhere, in reflections, in crowds, even in her dreams. Then, an envelope arrived in the mail with no return address. Inside was a short note written in Daniel's handwriting. "You wanted me dead." "You almost succeeded." Emily dropped it to the floor, trembling. She ran to the police, but they found no fingerprints, no sign of anyone following her. To them, she sounded like a widow struggling with grief and guilt. They advised her to rest and see a counselor. Days later, her car alarm went off in the middle of the night. When she rushed outside, she saw something that froze her blood, a single muddy footprint on the driver's seat. She broke down in tears, finally realizing she wasn't imagining it. Daniel was alive and he was close. Her perfect plan had turned into a waking nightmare. The man she had tried to kill was back, and this time, he wanted her to feel every ounce of fear she had once planned for him. A full year passed since Daniel Harper's supposed death, and Oakridge had almost forgotten the story that once gripped the entire town. Emily had become a recluse, avoiding her neighbors, closing her curtains and rarely stepping outside. The confident, smiling woman who once hosted parties was now a ghost of herself, thin, pale, and haunted. Her house, once immaculate, had fallen into disarray. She lived in constant fear, jumping at every sound, convinced that Daniel was somewhere nearby, waiting. But what she didn't know was that her fear was about to become reality. On a cold autumn morning, the local police station received an unexpected visitor. Daniel Harper walked in, alive and well. The officers who recognized him could hardly believe their eyes. He looked different, thinner, with tired eyes, but very much alive. He calmly placed a folder on the desk and said he was there to report an attempted murder. Inside the folder were months of evidence, photographs, voice recordings, and medical reports documenting the poison found in his system. Every detail told the story of how his wife had tried to kill him for money. The officers immediately reopened the case, stunned that the man everyone believed dead had returned with proof of his own wife's crime. That evening, police cars surrounded Emily's house. She watched from the window as flashing lights reflected off the walls. When they knocked on the door, she didn't answer. It wasn't until they broke it down that she realized it was over. As officers led her out in handcuffs, her neighbors stood in silence, shocked to see the truth behind the woman they once admired. Emily didn't speak a word, her face pale, her eyes hollow. She finally understood that Daniel had been alive all along, and he had been watching. During interrogation, Emily's composure crumbled. Faced with the evidence, she confessed to everything: the poison, the affair, and her plan to collect the insurance money. She cried, insisting she hadn't meant for it to go so far, but her words meant nothing. The recordings Daniel had saved, the secret journal he had kept, and the vial found in the house were more than enough to seal her fate. The trial became a local sensation. Reporters called it the ghost husband case. The courtroom was packed every day, with people eager to witness the outcome of a story that felt too unbelievable to be real. When the verdict was read, Emily sat motionless. Life in prison without parole. There were no tears left in her eyes, only the heavy silence of defeat. Daniel didn't attend the final hearing. He had already left town, moving to a quiet coastal city under a different name. He wanted no attention, no interviews, and no revenge. He simply wanted peace after living through betrayal and deceit. Oakridge slowly returned to normal, but the story of Daniel and Emily Harper never faded. Some say justice was served. Others whispered that Emily still sees Daniel's face in her dreams, standing in the doorway, reminding her that she could destroy his body, but never his will to survive. In the end, The man she tried to bury had returned, not for vengeance, but as the living proof that evil, no matter how carefully planned, always finds its way back to the one who creates it.